Ladies and gentlemen, anyone watching, today we have special guest Andrea Coleman, who is not only a practicing attorney, but also a stand-up comedian, a comic writer, has articles found anywhere in on Medium, as well as writes sketches, I believe. She's really funny, makes a lot of funny reels. And yeah, welcome, Andrea. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here, Jeff.
Andrea, we basically like to find out lawyers who have a life outside of the law. And sometimes, as a comedian, I like to find comics with a life outside of comedy. But sounds like, when you're mixing both, it's pretty interesting stuff. So you said you were just performing last night. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm co-producing a show with two other performers. It's a storytelling show. It's called Public Victories, and it's really very heartwarming. Like as you know, as a fellow comic, comedy isn't typically heartwarming. You wouldn't have it as chicken soup for your soul or anything like that. But this particular show is sweet. Like I cried at that show last night listening to one of the performers. I was like, this is incredible, because the whole point of the show is for people to tell a story of a victory, either big or small. And so I joined the producing team kind of late, but I was on the first show as a performer, and then they were like, would you like to co-produce the show with us? And so far it's been really lovely. But typically, as you know, stand-up is just like telling jokes and things like that.
That's right. Yeah. No, I mean, heartwarming. I probably never would describe it. Uh, Tears. I've seen tears. People crying. I've usually performers or myself. You also are a litigator. Is that right?
Yes, I'm a trial attorney. I'm a
Gotcha.
senior trial attorney, actually.
Oh, I'm apologies. That was really rude of me. Senior litigator. You work for an insurance company,
Yes.
and yeah, is there like a nice crossover, you think, from being in front of a courtroom, being in front of a judge, and doing your performances?
I think so. I mean, I've been like on stages my whole life. Like I grew up, I'm a Black woman from the South, so there's a lot of churching that goes on down there. So I have always been like in front of a group of people speaking in some form or fashion since I was a little kid. So being a litigator comes pretty naturally to me, but at the same time, I've also been like a performer my whole life. And so I definitely think it all kind of blends together. But I have to tell you, like, performing is fun. Being a litigator, that's not the same thing. Like, it's stressful. I care about my outcome. I take it very seriously. Maybe I should have a little bit more fun, but it's not the same. It's not the same, but like it's not the same. Like I want to win. I want to win my case, and I'm kind of looking at everybody and everything. So maybe it's more like, maybe in a way it's like stand up, because um there when you're in a stand up show, there's so many things that could happen. There's random people in the audience, there could be hecklers, you got the comic that came up before you, and
Yep.
there's like all this stuff that you're kind of trying to, for lack of a better word, control so that your part goes the way you want it to go.
Mm-hmm.
But
It's almost like you
yeah,
prepare something, but then you have to be present and in the moment so you can react to something that goes awry. Like you said,
exactly.
someone starts heckling, or you see someone looking wearing a crazy hat in the front row that you have to address and you can't ignore it. Or yeah, and I'm sure, I mean, in your in court cases, yeah, I assume you're doing trials, not like uh appellate kind of things.
Right. I'm at the trial level. So I've tried 30 jury trials, and most of them have been in Brooklyn.
Wow.
And then the other ones have been in Manhattan, but mainly it's Brooklyn.
So you have to
And yeah.
respond, react if someone is, you have to object, I'm assuming, or you come up with a new
Yes,
question in the moment.
absolutely. I have had experiences where a client suddenly like I'm sitting in there and a client, oh, it's so funny. Like some clients, you're like, I please show up for this trial. Like we really need your testimony. And then when they get there, you're like, I wish you hadn't come. Like, what are you doing? Like you're wearing sunglasses in a courtroom and they're not even like, they're like neon green sunglasses. What are you doing? And then, and I look over, she's sitting next to me and she's eating. I'm like, what are you doing? We have an hour and a half lunch break.
Oh
Why are you
no.
eating? I'm like, the jury's there and I'm like, put the sandwich away and take off those sunglasses. And it's definitely interesting.
Hmm.
And I think I won that trial. I did. I won that trial.
Wow. Well, that's skill.
Oh, thank you. It
Good
was
job.
I didn't think I was gonna win it. I was like and she didn't, I don't even, yeah, it's the case is already resolved. This was my fault. They always tell a lawyer, like, don't ask somebody a question that you don't know the answer to. But I
Mm.
thought I knew this answer. So I'd marked an exhibit for identification. It was, I think it was like a document that she had signed. And I just sort of asked like a preliminary question, which is like, do you recognize your signature? No. I was like,
Oh
oh
no.
God, are you serious? And I'm like, maybe she didn't hear me correctly. No, I'm
Mm.
asking you this piece of paper with your name. Like, is that your signature? I don't recognize it.
And then
And
just
then
full mouthful of potato chips right after that. I'm imagining.
opposing counsel like jumped on it immediately. It was like, okay, Your Honor, like this, we can't move this into evidence. I was like, this is killing me. Like, and it wasn't, I was like, I shouldn't have asked that question, but I mean, I really didn't think she was not going to recognize her own signature.
Got it.
She didn't.
Well, I don't know. When I sign things, I don't know. It can happen, right? Like I feel like it fluctuates a bit, or feeling a little arthritic that day. I don't know. Like it happens.
Right. That's fair. That's fair.
But still, you would think, come on, you would think you would want to answer yes. I don't know. I haven't been in court on that side or on any side, thankfully. The So going back, you were a performer forever.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
did you start doing comedy before being a lawyer or after?
I started it before. So in high school, I was doing like dramatic stuff. And then in college, I was in my college's improv comedy group. So I did that my entire time there. And then went to law school. I actually did a play at my college's law school. I mean the undergrad. And then it was my last year. So you know how it is. Your last year of law school is pretty chill. And
I'm
then
sorry, you did a play at at the undergrad of the law school you went to,
yes, I did.
and you were a 3L
Yes.
saying, "Hey guys, let me join your undergrad play."
Yes. Yeah, I did. I mean,
Okay.
it was a small liberal arts college and they specifically needed a black performer, and let's just say they didn't have a ton of black female performers in the undergrad because there wasn't a lot of black people at that school anyway. And so the director kind of went looking for black female performers, and I think he must have heard like there's a lot of black women at the law school. And so I think he kind of went looking and I was like, oh well, I am an actress if you want somebody. And I
Wow.
auditioned and there you go. But and then I graduated from law school. My first job out of law school was at a Shakespeare theater in Florida. I did that for a year. I worked at the Shakespeare Theater in DC. Then I moved to New York. And for that first year, I was trying to decide if I was going to stay in New York because I hadn't taken the bar yet.
Hmm.
And in that first year, I worked as like a paralegal, and then I started taking stand-up comedy classes and decided like, okay, yeah, I want to take the bar here. So I did stand up for like a year before I actually was officially a lawyer because I didn't, it takes a while to like sign up to take the bar, study for the bar, and So yeah, for like a year, I was doing stand up before I actually, you know,
Started
got sworn
practicing.
in.
Okay.
Right.
But you made the choice to go to law school while also thinking you were going to pursue some kind of performance.
I did.
What
I
was
did.
that? What was that thought process?
Well, I was planning on just focusing on performing because that's what I did in high school. Um and then I applied for NYU's Tisch performing arts school. I got in. I was so excited, and then I saw how much it cost, and my parents
Mm-hmm.
were like, "Yeah, we don't have that money." And so I was like, and that's all I wanted. And I had applied to some state schools, so I'd applied to William and Mary, and I got in. And my dad's like, William and Mary's a good school, go there. And I'm like, I don't want to go to William. So I went there, and because it's a liberal arts school, you don't just like take classes in performing. And so I also took government classes, and I loved it. Like I loved
Mm,
it. So it was I majored in government, and but I spent my free time like performing. And so I kind of like the integration of both of those things. Like I took a couple of theater classes, but I was like, I don't really want to talk about theater. I just want to do it. So
mm-hmm.
if I were going to talk about something, let's talk about something I'm interested in, which is like politics or like laws or something like that. So even though I love performing, like being talking about laws has always been kind of like my thing. Like I definitely got into I was on the debate team, I was on the forensics team in high school, like it's not, it's always been kind of a part of what I do is like kind of talking about the nuances of language and like how to get what you want in a civil society.
Mm-hmm. And so when you applied, you're going through and you're learning about policies, you're kind of getting interested in this. You apply to law school. Where'd you go to law school, by the way?
Washington and Lee in Lexington, Virginia,
Wow.
a school
Okay.
that
Yeah.
I had not heard of until after I took the LSAT, they were like, "Hey, apply." And I was like,
Yes.
"Wait, I've never heard of this school." And, but I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is a great school."
Yeah, it is. It's, I remember when applying, I remember learning about it. Yeah. So, you go there, and have you done comedy at that point yet?
Just improv, not
Mm,
never stand up.
got it. And then after law school, you move. You were saying after your first job, that's when you started, when you did your first stand up experience.
Yeah, I did. I started doing stand up a few years after I graduated from law school. So I was still after law school, I was doing classical theater, and I just kind of had an idea. I think I saw Janine Garofalo do stand up in my hometown in Virginia. And I was like, I like this. She's wearing a blazer. This is cool. I like walking around on stage in a blazer.
Hmm.
Um, so I just took a class,
Yeah, that's all
and
comedy is, really. Uh, yeah, some people take classes or try open mics. How'd you find this class? What class did you take?
it was it was a it was at Gotham Comedy Club. It was taught by Jim Mandrinos, and I think I probably Googled like comedy because I'm the kind of person who likes to learn and take classes. So
Yes.
I went to the class, and he was like, all right, everybody has to go to 3 open mics a week. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's homework. So I did my homework. So the very first place I ever did stand up was Comedy Cellar, and it was at their open mic. And then at that time, they would do a drawing at the end of every show, like if you whichever comic gets pulls their name out of the hat, they get to perform on like the Friday night show. So my very first open mic and my very first professional, real stand-up show was at Comedy Cellar because my name got drawn out of the hat, and I was
Wow.
like, oh my god, I just started taking the classes 2 days ago. So
Perfect. Well,
um
that's I've heard of it. I've heard of it. Not bad. What a way to start though. Yeah. And so you kind of got into it, the 3 times a week. And some people doing comedy will say that's not even close to enough. And then as lawyers, our jobs are crazy demanding all the time. How do you
Yeah.
balance the two?
I find that um being a litigator is a lot of like hurry up and wait.
Mm.
So it's like 9:30 calendar call, get there at 9:30. Yeah, they call your case, but they don't actually hear your case until like an hour and a half later. And so I find I'm able to do quite a bit of writing while I'm sitting in court. I mean, I've read the motion already and I don't have anything else to do and I can't leave this room.
Hmm.
And I'm not allowed to use a phone. I'm only allowed to look at my notepad. So I guess I will formulate some jokes and write them down, or like write a scene for like a movie. And the same thing on trial. I mean, obviously I'm not writing jokes while I'm, cross-examining somebody or whatever, but people are late, like everybody's ready, but one juror's not back yet. There's just like a lot of downtime, or like when the jury's deliberating, that can sometimes take a long time and there's nothing else to do. So it's just a lot of time to write. The place where I work, they pride
What,
themselves
and
on like,
sorry, what are the
mm,
other lawyers doing in this downtime that they're not?
um, they're talking to each other, flirting with each other, running around to other court parts to hear
Flirting with
certain
each other?
things. Oh yeah. Oh, I
Sounds
dated a few
scandalous.
lawyers. It's not scandalous. It's how it's done. It's a great look, ladies, or individuals interested in dating men. The law is a very male dominated profession, which is if you're interested in dating a man, get into the law, they're everywhere.
Mm.
And so I've dated a few attorneys in my courthouse.
At your courthouse. Dang. Okay. You don't even go
Back
to
in the
a.
day, back in the
Okay.
day,
Yeah.
I've been in a relationship for a decade now, so it's been a long time since I was doing that. But
Got it. And so then if you're, if you're not flirting and if you're not single, if you're taken, clearly the only way to pass the time is to become a prolific comedic writer. Uh, and all these other guys are wasting their time. They could be writing their novels or, solving other things, but instead they're trying to get lucky. Uh,
people
uh,
do a lot of reading. They read newspapers, or
got it.
they read books, or they sleep, or I don't know what they're doing.
So you get a lot of your writing done, during the day. Then how do you ever like have conflicts of like you want to do a show or a mic, but you have to work and you have a deadline the next day or something?
That doesn't happen too much. So my firm is big on like work-life balance. Most of the time people are doing that balance with like family and kids. I don't have kids, or so I'm like, okay, well, while y'all are hanging out with your kids, I'm gonna go to a mic. And so it's usually not it, it does take up a lot of energy. Like being a litigator and being a lawyer takes up a lot of energy. And so when I started doing this, I was younger. Like I've been practicing law for over 15 years. And
Wow.
so I like the first, I was in my like mid to late 20s. So I had tons of energy. And I didn't care. I was excited about, being in court is so fun, like running around a courthouse and there's guys everywhere. And then if you're arguing this or that. And then and the
Again,
same thing
guys
in,
everywhere. This whole thing was like, wow.
and then
Uh,
and then you're like running around a
the
comedy club,
bailiff's
like
cute, and the judges can be hot, and then sometimes the people. Anyway, sorry.
it's true. So you're like, and then you're like running around a comedy club. It's like it's very enlivening and
Yes.
fun. And like this, like if you have a great set, you're like, oh my God, I'm on cloud nine. And then it takes you, several hours to kind of wind down. And so in the beginning, and I would say the first decade, it's fine. And it's only now that I've been doing it for several years that I'm like, I don't have the energy. Yes, that was a great show, but now I'm tired.
Yeah.
Like last night was a great show. Like everybody did so well, and I was moved by everybody. And like, a lot of my friends, other comedian friends came to the show. We got to connect, and but I'm like tired today. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm tired. So I don't do as much stuff as I used to do. But luckily, because I've been around for a while, I have relationships with people, so I don't have to be in everybody's face in order to actually get booked on a show. But I
Hmm.
also kind of don't want to get booked on a show like every night. Like, come on, people, I'm tired. I'm
Yeah.
tired.
And sometimes a show is just four people in a, you know,
Exactly.
it's basically an open mic. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. People use the word show very, very liberally. So, um, so where do you think you're going with all this looking forward? What are you going to be a lawyer comic forever? Are you trying to go one way or the other?
That's a great question. I would love to be able to have my primary source of income be from performing or writing. I mean, I think because I've practiced law for so long, I feel um very comfortable with that and very kind of like an expert in my field. So I'm like, I feel good about that. Like I'm ready to kind of do something else. So like I will kind of see, like I've started doing a lot of playwriting in the last few years. So there's definitely a part of me that would love to produce some of my plays. I've dabbled in like directing and writing short film. And so there's a part of me that would love to maybe produce a couple of the maybe more shorts or maybe even a couple of the features I've written. I am on like a on a reality TV show that that is that the network likes. So I'm like, I actually don't know what I'm allowed to say about that, but like,
It's
so
currently
that's
going, like it's being filmed.
so season one is on Out TV right now. It's called Iconic Justice and it stars Willem from RuPaul's Drag Race. And it's like a courtroom show, but it's specific. It's like a lot of the people that come in have issues relating to like people stealing their wigs for like their drag wigs or like you know, being supportive of like the queer community, like roommates not being supportive of the queer community or whatever. So I'm on that show. It's a really fun show. And
And your
so
role is as a lawyer, or are you comic?
it's my official title is court reporter. So basically I'm a reporter. I'm the person on the show who's actually a lawyer. So I'm like, okay, well, this is what would happen if this was like a real court case or like if it was a
So it's like
real
Judge Judy
courtroom.
court kind of thing.
Exactly.
Okay, and they're
Exactly.
just determining if you're in the right or in the wrong.
Correct.
Okay.
And so that's that reality show. And then I'm also the voice of the Hot House on a TV on a reality show called Hot House on Out TV.
So when you practice
Um,
law, you do like 1 hour of law a week, and then do you have so many cool things going? Uh,
I, I'm a
this is
full-time
this.
lawyer.
I just hope people, because I trying to do stand up or making videos or doing and with my job, and then you have friends who will say like, oh, I have no time to do anything, and it's like you have time, and Andrea is an example for everybody. You have time to do shit because that's awesome. Like you seem to be very fulfilled, at least work wise, and then you have a lot of projects you need to, well, you would like to get out.
I thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that. I feel like the thing that's been helpful is I've been in my particular field of law for a very long time. And so I'm not, I think if I was like dabbling in a lot of different areas of the law, it would be more difficult. But I'm like, I've worked at the same firm and I'm basically in the same like two or three courthouses. People know me, I know them. So there's a lot of shorthand there. Um,
Do they
and
know
so
you're performing and everything?
they do. I mean, to be frank, most people don't care. Like I remember I was so excited I got a write up in the New York Times and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm in the Times." But they said the name of my firm and I was like, "Oh, I have to make sure my managing attorney's okay with it." And I told my manager and he was like, "Huh, okay, no, it's fine." And I'm like, "I'm in the New York
He's like,
Times.
hey,
Don't
where's
you
that
care?"
motion? By the way, don't aren't you a
Right.
little late on that?
Right, exactly.
That is
So
that's great. Yeah. No, it's true. It's funny. how any comics trying to be in the professional world too, and vice versa. You want to keep yourself quiet, but it's like, how arrogant are we really that anyone gives a shit about?
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. I mean, they've been very kind. Like, they'll like I had a showing of one of my short films a long time ago, and like most of the entire office came, or like if I was in a play, like they'll come see that. And so there's a lot of, it's very sweet in that way. Or if I'm like, oh, my show is going to be on TV, and they're like, oh, okay, but yeah, people have lives to lead. And they're like, great, have you like you said, did you write that motion? Or like, good, we need you in a deposition tomorrow, and so, but the good thing is with comedy, most of it's not during the day.
That's
So,
right.
but I also have quite a bit of vacation time. So I'm going to be filming something the end of this week. So I took off a couple days, and so
Oh,
I can
so
like
cool.
fly to LA and shoot whatever.
Wow. So we're running out of time because I don't have Zoom Premium. And so we have 2 minutes left. There's so much more I want to know, but that because it's just nice to hear how people, balance this stuff and work it out. But before we end, anything you want to plug? I know your show is at Young Ethel's in Park Slope. Anything else?
Well, yeah, the show in Park Slope is called Public Victories. It's the second Sunday of every month at 6 p.m. And then my website is Andrea Coleman Comedy. And so that will have like my shows coming up. And then the two shows that I have on Out TV are called Iconic Justice and then Hot House. Um, I think that's everything for now.
It's not
If you go to my
much.
website.
Not impressed. And what courtrooms can we see you in coming up? No, I was kidding.
Come to Brooklyn.
Don't. Oh, well, actually, some people do. Go to Brooklyn, sure, but don't go to a courthouse. Hopefully not. All right. Well, thank you so much, Andrea. It was nice meeting you. Great talking with you. And yeah, we'll see you around out on the mic scene.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff.
All right. Take care.